So I'm going to just again introduce myself, Angela Gibson, Abraham's Consulting. We are excited to present to you the NXLog solution in collaboration with NXLog. And essentially, we partner with the different niche solution providers, of which NXLog represents that, and to give you visibility into what's happening in the marketplace as far as this is concerned. Next slide. So Abraham's Consulting, from a background perspective, we've been in business for since 2006, and we serve the federal, states, and local government, as well as educational institutions. We are a minority women-owned small business here in New York, but we also serve Maryland, Georgia, New Jersey. We're certified to do business in these areas as well as the federal government, as I mentioned. We are full cycle IT services company, and we provide security, disaster recovery, cloud, 7 help desk, storage, you name it. We have an operations center. We do hardware and software as well, managed services, professional services, staff augmentation, vetting and putting technical talent on site all over the agencies in New York, AI implementation. We run the gamut. We don't do everything, but for what we do it well. Next slide. Today the agenda is, well, I'm going to pass it all over to Anna. She's going to talk about the agenda right now, and she is with NXLog, and essentially she'll be driving the presentation. We'll also have a technical demo during this presentation as well. Please remember to put your questions in the chat, and we will certainly be willing to respond accordingly. Anna?
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Angela. And welcome, everyone. Thanks for having us today. So basically, this is what we will cover today. So first of all, the IT reality government agencies face and the operational challenges that make things hard. And then we are going to take a look into how NXLog fits into a modern telemetry architecture and how licensing works in practice. After that, we'll go over the New York City Cyber Command use case. And then finally, we'll take you through a live demo with my colleague Marlon from the pre-sales team of NXLog, who is also today with us. And we will leave some time at the end to answer any questions you have. So please feel free to drop them into the chat. So we are going to take a look at it at the end, okay? So first, a quick word on NXLog as a company. We have been doing this for 12 years. We are entirely built in-house. And the logos you see here from some of our clients, they span banking, healthcare, aviation, retail. But I understand that the one that probably stands out most for you is the New York City Cyber Command. They trusted NXLog to centralize log collection for across 100 city agencies. And we'll have some time also to discuss their use case during the presentation. Well, let's start with some context. So we know that government agencies are not running neat, homogeneous environments, right? So you got on-prem mainframes sitting next to private cloud, next to SaaS tools, and each one of these are generating different formats of logs. If you have a educational institution, for example, you also need to add student information systems, LMS platforms, and also research networks on top of that. Meanwhile, threat actors are specifically targeting this sector. Indeed, we have some information from Comparitech that ransomware attacks on US government entities more than doubled between 2022 and 2024. And through all of this, IT teams are small, budgets are rigid, and turnover is constant. And then on top of all that operational complexity, there is a compliance layer that is not optional, the mandates. And all of them require centralized log collection, retention of at least 12 months active and 18 months code, and also the ability to share data with CISA. All of these frameworks are asking basically the same question. Do you know what happened, when it happened, and where? And so you have the mandates. And now here's why it is hard to meet. So you've got Windows event logs, syslogs from Linux, cloud native logs from Azure and AWS, application logs, all of them in different formats, stored in different places. So correlating, for example, events across two agencies require manual effort and custom scripting. And there are also some blind spots. So OT systems, IoT devices, legacy mainframes, and most log shippers, they don't support them. And then you have the biggest tension is that telemetry volumes grow faster than budgets, right? So agencies are then forced to choose between logging everything and paying high price for the SIM, or logging selectively and then accepting compliance gaps. And neither of these is a good answer, right? Well, so you might be asking, what is the problem then with traditional log management and why does it not work anymore? Well, traditional log management was about basic collection. So it has limited sources, inconsistent formats, high storage cost, and not much control. When you have a modern telemetry pipeline, you can collect not only logs, but also metrics and traces. You can also process at the source. So what this means is that you can filter, parse, transform before anything reaches downstream tools. It gives you more a centralized fleet management and also covers IT, OT, cloud, and all the applications in just one place. So the result is basically that you have a more stable total cost of ownership. So this is where NXLog comes in. So on the left side, you have every source imaginable. You can have operating systems, cloud platforms, industrial systems. Enterprise sits in the middle of it. So it collects from any source, agent-based or agentless. It processes it by filtering, enriching, deduplicating before anything reaches your SIM, and then it routes to any destination. And it can store data that doesn't need to go to a SIM at all. So basically, the key insight here is that not everything needs to be ingested by a SIM. So you may be asking, well, my SIM already comes with a built-in collector, so isn't that sufficient? Well, to better understand that, it's good first to have an understanding about what a SIM actually does. So a SIM handles correlation, alerting, incident management, and this is very, very important. But here's the thing, SIMs were never designed to be the collection and processing layer. So that's not what they were built for. What happens is that when you push raw, unfiltered, multi-format logs directly into a SIM, you are using it for something it wasn't meant to do, and you are paying for the privilege. So this is what NXLog does. So NXLog takes over the collection and processing part of the cycle. What means in practice is that your engineering teams get reduced overhead, full control, and also easy customization. And on the other hand, CISOs and leadership get higher quality data reaching the SIM, lower mean time to detect and respond, lower SIM invoices, and of course, an improved compliance posture. So NXLog basically doesn't replace any SIM. It makes it work better and cost less.
I have a question. So, from what I understood, you're saying that because Sims weren't created to or designed to do collection and all of that, that's what caused the added the expense, the exorbitant pricing for Sims. And you're saying that, is
Exactly.
that correct?
Exactly. Mainly because many times their filtering capabilities are not strong enough. So you end up sending to the SIM more data than you really should. Like not
Okay,
all of it is useful for you, but you are still paying for it, right?
I see. Okay, got it.
So now that we talk about that, so why is that bad to send everything to the SIM? Because most of them are volume-based licensed, right? So why is volume-based licensing a problem? Well, as I say, most telemetry pipelines, they charge per volume, so gigabytes or events per second. And the problem is that basically when you have a security incident, your log volume spikes and automatically your bill spikes too because it is attached to the volume, right? So
Mhm.
exactly when you can least afford surprises, it happens. So what NXLog does is not only to reduce your cost with the SIM solution, but the way we do licensing is also different. So NXLog licenses per unique data source, not per gigabyte or event. So that means that data volume doesn't affect your cost. You can add or keep all metadata without worrying about cost implication. So especially for government agencies, this means a very stable TCO through incident audits and growth. And budget-wise, this is key for success, right?
I have another question. For the person, for the company or the agency that does not already have a SIM, would you recommend that they just go straight to NXLog and avoid the SIM?
No, not avoid the SIM at all, because we are a complement to SIM solution, right? But they
Okay.
can start by using an XLog because it's a very good point starting collecting logs first, and then they are able to send the logs not to a SIM if they don't have it yet, but to a folder, to a data lake, or wherever they really want to send. So at least they are able to get more visibility about what they are collecting. They can use the platform to storage the SIM as well, and also to have some search capabilities. So as an initial plan, yes, an XLog can be a good starting point.
Okay. I'm just trying to reconfirm that you're saying that it does not replace the SIM. The SIM is
Mhm.
still very much needed.
It is.
Correct?
It is
All right.
indeed because it can give you more analytics than NXLog does. So it's not the point that we want to reach. We want to make collection and processing layers more effective. So you can use the SIM for what it was built to do. So about the analytics itself, the SIM is unbeatable. You need to use it. Okay, but working together with NXLog, you are going to have better data to work with that analytic. Less, uh, I would say, less garbage, less things that you don't need to push into a
Noise.
SIM because noise, yes, like no, there is no value. So you just drop it before it reaches your SIM.
Understood.
Okay. So a practical example here. So New York City Cyber Command, their first need was to protect over 100 city agencies. And the challenge they brought to us is that they had very heterogeneous systems, all of them with different log formats. They had no centralized visibility, and the log volume was outgrowing their existing tooling. So the solution we present to them was deploying a single NXLog agent across all system types. With that, logs were normalized, enriched, and also forwarded to the SIM in real time. So the result is that The city that never sleeps has end-to-end visibility across its entire infrastructure, also fast detection and response, and of course, a platform that scales as new agencies are added. And with that, I hand it over to Marlon, my colleague from the PS team. So we are going to walk you through a live demo.
Thank you, Anna.
Okay, 1 second. Let me share my screen. Okay.
I do have one question that's just came to my mind.
Yeah.
If this New York City OTI, Office of Technology and Innovation, is using NXLog to protect them for, across the city for all their agencies, why would individual agencies still need to invest in NXLog?
That depends. I don't know exactly if all of the endpoints that they have, even for other agencies, are being collected, the events. I know for sure that part of their environment is being collected, but I'm not sure if all the agents has connectivity between the agents and the centralized data center that these events are being collected. So that is another idea that we don't know for sure if those agents are being collected.
Okay. That's a good question to explore further. But carry on. Thank you.
Yep. So before I just jump into the demo, I normally like to show how our solution works, because Anna was just mentioned here everything and how we can do things, and now we can just go in the real world and show how exactly this can work. We basically have two ways that we can collect the events, right? We have the agent-based, that is when we are deploying our application at the source, and we have, as we call, an agentless mode. So what that means? I will give you like a very good two examples. So when I'm collecting events for Windows servers or even for Linux device, I can basically just install our application at the source, and then we will be collecting the events. As Windows event logs, as systemd, as journal, everything related to the operation system, we can just collect it at the source. The other way to collect the events is the agentless. So that means, for sure, when we have suites, firewall, load balancers, database, everything where we are not able to install our application, we can collect those events as well using an agentless mode. What that means is I will have one agent that is acting as a collector, that will have exactly the same application, exactly the same license, and we'll be collecting the events by syslog, UDP, TCP, or ODBC driver for database. And as soon as I receive those events in my collector, or you can call as a relay or aggregator, as soon as I receive those events, I will be able to send those logs and normalize and filter and do whatever I want before sending to the destination, to my CN, to my storage, even to the platform. Besides that, our solution basically works in two ways. I have the agents, that is the one doing the log collection job, that is the core for NXLog, and we also have the NXLog platform. So NXLog platform is the log and agent management, is the UI, is the console where we are doing basically everything. This is where we are developing the configuration. This is where we are pushing those configurations to the agents. It's where we are visualizing everything that is passing through the agents. So the demo will be more focused on how we can manage that on the NXLog platform than directly to the agents itself, right? So that is my NXLog platform. And as you can see, I have few agents that I'm managing as Windows, as Linux, for some kind of services as domain controllers. I also have macOS as well. So everything here is related to those agent bases. So everything that the platform can manage is related to the agent based. I also have a collector, as you can see over here, that is using one Linux as a collector. So I'm able to manage that collector, but everything else, so that source working as an agentless, I'm unable to set or to manage everything. And the reason is because I do not have our application running at this source. So how this works? So how NXLog can collect the events? We basically set the configuration to start collecting those events and sending to the destination, normalize, filter, and everything. And how can we do that? So basically, I have already some kind of configuration, and I can also show how it works in the real world. But it's very easy to set your configurations based on, as we call, snippets. So let's say that you want to collect the Windows event logs. You can just simple type Windows, and you can just drag and drop your first input. For security, you also can collect integrity events. And as the theme, you can also drag and drop and set exactly what is the path or directory that you want to monitor. For, let's say, for Windows, I can check everything under program files, right? So this is how it works. So I'm just defining some kind of inputs, and I can define also the destination. In this case, the customer will have the ability to set everything that he wants, as CN, as a data lake, as even sending events to the platform. So let's say that the customer is using Sentinel as their destination. They can just drag and drop and add some kind of information as the Sentinel key, the table name, it is just for a test, and then the ID for the workspace. As soon as I set everything here, I already have my first configuration. So as soon as I save it, I can just apply to one of my agents that is being managed by the platform, and that configuration will be pushed to that agent. And at this point, the log collection will start to work. I can show you something that is already working. So if I back here on my agents and go into the configuration, for example, I have my domain controller. And as you can see, I have few inputs. My destination in this case is the NXLog platform itself. But you can see all the configuration, all the filters. For example, for my DNS, I am filtering. I'm creating some kind of filter to drop the noise, as it was already mentioned by Anna, to the domain controller and DNS event. So everything here that is running into those destinations, let's say, it will be dropped, it will be filtered, okay? So the customer will have the possibility to do whatever he wants with the logs before even sending to the destination, okay? And how can we help customers, Angela, that you mentioned before, the customer that it still doesn't have the CN? We have the ability to not only send logs to CNs or to the data lake, but the platform has the option to receive the events as well. So I can send the logs to the platform, to the server, even before the customer has the CN. So how this works? The platform, it will be a destination. So we can have CNs as the destination, or we can also have the platform. If I go in one of my configuration, I believe this one for Linux, you see as the destination for all those events that I'm collecting, I have 3 different destinations. One of them is the platform. The other one is Greylog, one CN, and the other one is Splunk. More than that, for the same agent, I'm collecting queries and metrics for that agent and sending to Prometheus, where I will create a Grafana dashboard. So it's here, as you can see, I'm only using an NXLog to collect all the metrics for different type of agents as Windows, Linux, and everything. And I am able only with the NXLog collecting those metrics, integrate natively with Prometheus and Grafana, and create a dashboards. It's basically exactly what the customer wants. And we can even add more and more information based on the use case. As you can see here, I'm just running into a lab. So I can get some network information, memory, disk, CPU, uptime, as you can see. So everything related to metrics and everything related to how those server are working, I can create by the dashboard. Besides that, as you can see, if I go in one of my destinations, that is in this case, it's Greylog, I'm also able to see the events. As you can see here, I'm receiving events for that Linux as well. Okay, so I can just click one of the events, and I will be able to see everything for Windows, for Linux. So all the agents can have multiple inputs and can have multiple outputs. Okay. Again, in this case, we are collecting events. We are sending to 2 different destinations, but one of them is the platform. And how can we see those events on the platform? We have here on the log search the ability to see everything that I'm receiving from the platform perspective. So I can just go in one of the events, open it, and you have a JSON format, all the events that you are receiving. For my domain controllers, for Linux, I have here on my lab some kind of robotic events that is OT. So I can see some information related to robotic arm as well. So all of that, you can collect those events because we are agnostic, and you can share and you can store into the platform. You can create search. So for example, if I want to see a router events, in this case, working as an agentless, I can just click here. I created a file, a search, and I can basically see everything related to those events. So for customers that is starting to collect events and they do not have a CN, we can basically fulfill their environment only with an NXLog and an NXLog platform. Of course, it is not exactly the same way as the CNs because we are not able to set actions, to set notifications, everything that a CN can do. But of course, for a customer that just wants to collect the events and wants to store those events for at least a year as a compliance, we are more than prepared to do that.
Thanks for the distinction.
Yeah. More than that, as I was mentioned, our idea is to provide visibility for customers when they are running into the NXLog platform. So I can basically just click in one of the agents. I will be able to see all the configuration in a text mode. I can even go in statistics. I will get one that probably it's better to show you, is the domain controller. So I can see all the configuration. I can see some information from CPU, from memory that is being used by an NXLog only. And when I go to statistics, I can see in real time how many events I have received on that agent. And as I have the filter, this is the number of events that my filter has dropped. So just to have an idea, that's the number of events that are not going to the CN from the customer perspective. So that is the save that customers will not be paid for the volume that they will not be receiving on their CN. This is just an example. Okay, I'm just dropping few events. And as you can see, it's basically half of what customer will not be paying for. So that is the reason that we can say that in some case, we can save up to 90% of the volume that the customers are sending to the CN. So that is the amount of data that they can reduce and that they can save on the budget perspective.
Okay. What percentage of the volume did you just cite? What percentage of the events that
depends on the case. That depends on the case, right? But depends on the filter that we are creating. We can have more than 90%.
Wow.
Yep.
That's substantial.
Because, yeah, just to give you like a real word, if you are collecting Windows event logs and you just drop the info events, because you don't care about the info events, you care more about the critical and error and warning. Info is basically more than 90% of the events that the Windows event collector are generating. So let's say if that is the example, the real example, you will be saving more than 90%.
Okay.
And last but not least, I just want to show you something more related to how we can give customers the ability to see everything that is passing through the NXLog. So if you go to Logflow, this is all my inputs, and those are my outputs. So as you can see, we can set everything here on the architecture. So you can play with the inputs and outputs and can set everything that you have set on the configuration. And then you can just back here in the events per second, and you can see in real time how many events per second each server or each model or each input are sending to the destination. So in my case, I have at least 5 different destinations. Hotel, I have Prometheus, an NXLog platform, Splunk, and Greylog. So I can do the connections for every input, for every template that I have with the right destination. And then I will be able to see how many events per second I have for each and every input. I can also see in megabytes per second, so I can even see the volume that the agents are collecting information and send to the destination. So the customer will be able to see the volume that they are sending to the CN and how many they are saving, basically. So that is the idea for the NXLog, to not only collect the events, but give customers the visibility of everything that they are collecting and everything that they are saving.
Okay. I want to clarify one thing. Is NXLog an appliance, or is it also
Only software.
only software? Okay.
Yes.
Is it so?
Yes.
Okay. Only software. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. At least from my side, Angela and team, I believe that is all for the NXLog platform demo. I don't know if you guys have any question that we can just discuss a little bit more about how NXLog works, but that was my idea to the demo.
Well, you mentioned that an agency has the agent option. The options in NXLog is an agent and an agentless.
Yes.
Can you speak more to that?
Sure. What is agent-based and what is agentless? I can give you like a real example. That agent here, that Linux, okay, this is an agent-based. So I have one Linux server, okay, that has an NXLog agent installed and deployed, but it is acting as a collector, exactly on the same way as this topology here. So that Linux Fedora is acting as a collector. And behind that, I have 2 different agentless. One of them is my own router. So if I go to that router, I am setting that configuration. Give me 1 second. Okay. I set this configuration for everything that my router is generating from the events. I'm sending to that IP. By default, my router is sending by UDP port 514. So I just went to my agent, my NXLog agent, and set. So that model is receiving events by UDP on port 514, and I will receive everything. So as soon as I do that, what I'm doing is I'm parsing those events as a syslog, and I am receiving everything through port 514 on UDP protocol. And as soon as I'm opening it, so I'm always working in this central collector here, I will start to receiving logs from the agentless. Who is my agentless? It is my router. So as soon as I start to receiving those events, I can just go here, create a search, and I'm able to see that I'm collecting logs from my TP-Link router. So it's exactly the same events that is being here, and it is being collected over here. So that is the difference in an agentless and an agent base. Agent base is where we are deploying our application. Agentless is where we are actually collecting the events.
Thank you for that. Can you discuss the Anna, the pricing? Well, not so much pricing, but the framework for pricing. Not the specific pricing, but the framework, the thresholds, and so forth. Can you discuss that?
Yes, of course. So pricing for NXLog, as I mentioned before, is based on data source number, right? So as many data sources we have, unit price decreases. So for every client, we always do a very personalized offer based on the exact number of data sources.
Okay.
So the number really varies according to the number.
Depending on the number of devices that
Exactly.
is collecting the logs. Is that it?
Exactly. That's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I don't have any other questions. This was very helpful and insightful. I think that not just the government agencies, but the educational institutions. Do you find that educational institutions use NXLog or find it useful for their environment as well, or is it you're more focused on government?
No, we are
Yes, we
focusing.
have a lot of education institutions in the US using NXLog.
Okay. Thank you so much. At this point, we're going to end our demonstration, our technical exchange for today. And I want to say thank you to NXLog and the team for getting this done today. We hope to be able to set up a lot of customized presentations for the agencies that are using the solution. I'm personally interested in learning from OTI because they're a client of ours as well. How they're using it and whether or not, because they're using it, whether or not the other agencies would see the benefit. Because that may be part of the fight that we have in terms of more visibility in the city. So thank you once again. I appreciate the time.
Thank
Have
you
a
for
great
the
day.
invite,
Okay.
Angela.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.